important thing is moral choice. Evil has to exist along with good, in order that moral choice may operate. Life is sustained by the grinding opposition of moral entities. This is a quote by our protagonist, Anthony Burgess. A Clockwork Orange is a dystopian novel written by English author Anthony Burgess in 1962. This work of fiction was written at the height of England's fear of juvenile delinquency. In A Clockwork Orange, we're introduced to our protagonist, Alex, who describes the whole story in the first-person perspective, giving the readers a feel for the twisted mind of our protagonist, and a much more personal feel. In the world of A Clockwork Orange, it is considered a rite of passage for teens like Alex to do horrible things to one another in acts of pure chaos and freedom. After a night spent partying, Alex decides to go with his gang to exercise their right to be human, and unfortunately to Alex, this type of freedom involves rape, torture, grand theft auto, and betrayal. As the night goes on and all the aforementioned happens, Alex is found unconscious on the floor of the house he broke into, left there by his friends as the police take him to jail. But Alex's evil deeds don't stop there. He brutally attacks another inmate, but is restrained once again and taken to Dr. Brodsky, where he informs Alex that he's been selected for an experiment called the Ludovico technique. The Ludovico technique is a type of primary reinforcement that associates violence and classical music, Alex's favorite type of music to commit violence to, with horrible feelings caused by the drugs that they injected him with while watching violent videos. From here, Alex is released back into the real world, but, for lack of better words, he's been effectively neutered. He cannot even think about violence without becoming sick to his stomach. The major themes of this book, which include, but are not limited to, the absolute freedom of free will that must be preserved at any cost, even if it means cycles like Alex are allowed to run free every night, pillaging and raping. And this is what Alex is talking about in his quote at the very beginning. So taking this definition into account, the government of A Clockwork Orange is considered evil because its very existence as an institution dedicated to protecting the collective at the cost of the individual's freedom is a direct threat to the inviolability of free will that Alex believes so strongly in.
So now we're running low on time. I think now would be an appropriate time for me to discuss how I felt about this book. So when I first started reading this book, I was really shocked, and I could hardly believe what I was reading. Because in the first few chapters, we see Alex, right, our protagonist, and as he's going through um his whole night out with his friends, the imagery and the way they wrote the book was really messed up because as he's going through this whole process of raping and torturing, it also I also realized that this kid is he's a kid, he's 15, and that really didn't settle well for me because I was thinking like, well, I remember how I felt when I was 15, and I can't imagine doing something so horrible at that age. That's definitely kind of a culture shock to me. So so even though the beginning was hard for me to stomach, I became really interested when they brought up the Ludovico technique because it involved a lot of psychology, used primary reinforcers, secondary reinforcers, and techniques discovered by Pavlov. And I've taken psychology, and so that's why I became really interested in that. So while I didn't particularly enjoy the book, I recognize that it's a significant book, and it's a book that really should be. It is controversial, but it's controversial for a reason because the message it's saying is really, um, it will never really go away. And the way we see technology growing, it's a message that should still be preserved and should be read by all students because it preaches how we need to protect free will at all costs. There is no compromise when it comes to that. And the way technology is evolving nowadays, this this is a more relevant story than ever today.